Hi everyone, and welcome to the show. This is Going Over Wrestling with me, your host Ross. In this episode we're going to be taking a look at New Japan's Invasion Attack from the 6th of April 2014. So our opener is for the IWGP Junior tag titles, featuring the champions the Young Bucks taking on the challengers of El Desperado and Kota Ibushi. Quite a fast paced match here. We get the double jump moonsault to the outside by Ibushi, and we also get the tope con hilo through the ropes by El Desperado. Ibushi gets his usual stuff in with the standing shooting star press. Beautifully done as always. One of the highlights in the match for me though is Ibushi has both the Young Bucks perched in the corner on the top rope, and he hits a double Hurricane Rana to them, which is impressive. El Desperado hits Guitarra del Angel on Matt Jackson for a very near fall. The Young Bucks get a very near fall of their own when they hit a spiked tombstone on El Desperado, but Ibushi breaks the fall up. But the Young Bucks eventually do get the victory when they hit more bang for your buck on El Desperado and they retain their titles. It was a really good opener. I thoroughly enjoyed this match, very high paced. Next up we get a 6-man tag with the team of Sakuraba, Makabe and Nagata taking on Suzuki, Taichi and Taka. So Sakuraba picks up the win for his team by tapping out Taichi. While he's got the armbar on Taichi, he's actually staring down Suzuki, who's on the outside being held with Makabe. So Sakuraba staring daggers at him as he's making Taichi tap to the armbar, obviously setting up some sort of angle down the line between those two. After the match, Suzuki is furious, throws a chair about and punches a young lion to take his frustration out on. I mean, the match itself is nothing special. Next up we've got the match for the NWA World Tag Titles with the champions Rob Conway and Jax Dane taking on the team of Tenkoji, Kojima and Tenzan. Right near the start of the match, Kojima does about 30 odd chops in the corner to Rob Conway. They're not mega chops though, like you would get in Japan normally, so they're a bit lighter at least. We get a miscommunication spot by Jax Dane taking out Conway with a spear attempt. He's actually trying to hit Tenzan, but Tenzan dodges it. Tenkoji then land 3D, Kojima lands a lariat, then Tenzan with the moonsault for the 3 count, and new NWA tag champions. Again, the match itself was nothing impressive. I mean, I wouldn't go out your way to see this match. I'm just not a fan of Jax Dane, to be honest with you. He's still pretty green in the ring. So next up we get the wrestlers versus the MMA specialists tag match, which is the team of Izuka and Yano taking on Daniel and Hoyler Gracie. So immediately we go to brawling in the crowd, and Yano ends up handcuffing Daniel to the guardrail on the outside. He eventually gets freed by one of the young lions who has some bolt cutters with him, so that was pretty handy. He then goes on to submit Izuka with a leg lock. So I wasn't a fan of this match though, to be honest with you. The Gracies, you know, they look quite lost when it comes to pro wrestling. Maybe their match at Wrestle Kingdom with Nagata and Sakuraba was maybe marginally better, but that's not saying much. So next up we have a loser leaves town match with Prince Devitt taking on Taguchi. So before the match we get a video montage of the breakup of Apollo 55 with interspliced with interview segments from Taguchi talking about Prince Devitt, Apollo 55, you know, the breakup. So Devitt is actually accompanied to the ring by the Young Bucks. They are the only members of Bullet Club to accompany him to ringside. Right at the start of the match, Nick Jackson gets involved by choking Taguchi as he's leaning over the second rope. Prince Devitt immediately comes over and tells him to stop it, and warns him and tells him to stay away and do not interfere. Not long after this though, Taguchi runs the ropes and gets dragged out by the Bucks and start working him over on the outside with punches and kicks. Immediately Devitt comes over and pulls them off Taguchi. Then we get the Young Bucks turning on Devitt. They roll Devitt back into the ring, but Devitt then hits them with a massive somersault plancha, taking out both members of the Young Buck. He then picks them up and throws them over the guardrail, sending them to the back. Back in the ring, we get Prince Devitt telling Taguchi that this is now a one-on-one match. Devitt hits Bloody Sunday on Taguchi but only gets a 2. He goes up top rope and hits the double foot stomp. Taguchi kicks out again. Devitt then immediately picks him back up and hits another Bloody Sunday for a very near fall. Taguchi hits the chicken wing face buster for a 2 count. Then he hits the chicken wing drop onto his knees, only manages to get 2 3/4. Then he hits the Dodon the end, which is the Argentine backbreaker, into a chicken wing facebuster for the 3, and he picks up the victory. Devitt is now gone from New Japan. After the match we get a handshake between the 2 former tag partners, and Devitt rolls out the ring and leaves. The fans actually start chanting "Thank you Devitt" in English to him though, which I thought was a very nice touch. I think the way they went about it with Taguchi, the former Apollo 55 member, being the one to get the victory over him for Devitt to leave in his last match, I think that was a fitting end to their feud, and I liked how they done it with Prince Devitt turning his back on Bullet Club, or should I say Bullet Club turning their back on Prince Devitt, and then Devitt striking back at them, sending them to the back. It's kinda sending him out as a face in a way, you know. Devitt is officially gone from New Japan now. So back after intermission action, and we get the team of Bad Luck Fale and Tama Tonga from Bullet Club taking on Chaos members Okada and Yoshihashi. There's very little to the match. It only went about 8 minutes, with Okada picking up the win with Rainmaker on Tama Tonga. After the bell, Fale gets in Okada's face, and then Okada is blindsided by a hooded man, and immediately I knew who it was. The hood comes down and we see that it is AJ Styles. AJ Styles hits the Styles Clash on Okada, picks up the belt and cuts a promo saying that he's coming after Okada's belt. He makes reference to the fact that Okada was a TNA young boy, and this actually sets up the match for the 3rd of May show, with Okada defending his title against AJ Styles. Prince Devitt, the former leader of Bullet Club, just left and he's immediately replaced by AJ Styles, which is a very good decision in my eyes. AJ Styles is a fantastic worker and I look forward to seeing his matches here in New Japan. So next up we get the match for the Never title, with the champion Ishii defending against the challenger Naito. Ishii hits a massive lariat on Naito, who's standing on the apron, and he sells it with doing a backflip, but he lands quite heavy on the the shoulders and neck area. Ishii then does his brainbuster from the second rope and delays it, which is always impressive. Naito manages to get some offense himself and lands the hammerlock slam, but misses the Stardust press. Naito regains control of the match though and manages to slap on the Koji clutch. The fans buy into the false finish, but Ishii manages to get to the rope. And then the real finish comes with a lovely delayed brainbuster on Naito for the 3 count. This was a great match with these two yet again. Definitely worth checking this match out. The 5 minutes at the end are excellent exchanges. So following this, we have the IWGP Tag title match with the champions Doc Gallows and Carl Anderson of Bullet Club taking on the team of Goto and Shibata. So actually we get a cool double submission spot here. The legal men are Gallows and Goto. Goto slaps on a scorpion lock. Meanwhile, Shibata gets an octopus stretch on Carl Anderson. There's actually a botched clothesline spot with Goto chasing Gallows to the ropes, but they sort of get in each other's way and Goto hits the lariat, but it's poor time though, it does look a bit sloppy. Shibata and Goto work over Anderson, with Shibata hitting a running kick for a near 3 count. Goto and Anderson have some good counters and exchanges in the lead up to the finish. Anderson manages to hit gun stun out of nowhere, immediately gets picked up in Doc Gallows, and Anderson hit the Magic Killer for the 3 count to retain their titles. So the match itself was pretty good, started off slow but picked up towards the end, and the closing segment of the match was the best thing about it. And so we have our main event for the Intercontinental title, the challenger Nakamura taking on the reigning champion Tanahashi. Tanahashi does some subtle heel work throughout the match and he works Nakamura's leg for the most part. He's got Nakamura in the corner, puts his foot onto his knee and copies the vibrating choke mannerisms for some heel heat from the crowd, and he does a frog splash to the leg also. We get another frog splash from the top rope to the outside on Nakamura. This is very beautifully done, very safe looking as well. Back in the ring, Nakamura hits Bombayé out of nowhere but only gets a 2 count. He goes for another but Tanahashi dodges it and we get another frog splash to the leg, and then he goes for a frog splash proper but Nakamura brings up the legs and then immediately sells that his knee get injured in the block attempt. Nakamura gets Tanahashi in an armbar but Tanahashi manages to get a rope break. As he's getting back up from the rope break, he gets a Bombayé to the back of the head, then a second rope Bombayé followed by another second rope Bombayé. He then goes for another one to the kneeling Tanahashi, but Tanahashi gets his arm up and blocks it, hurting the injured knee of Nakamura, but Nakamura then delivers a Bombayé with his good leg but only manages to get a 2 count, very near fall, and the fans buy into the false finish. As Tanahashi's getting up from the near fall, we get one more final massive Bombayé which Tanahashi sells like a boss. Nakamura picks up the win and is once again crowned Intercontinental Champion. This was an excellent match. I would definitely go out your way to see this one. After the match, Tanahashi is helped to the back while Nakamura celebrates in the ring. The Gracies then hit the ring. Daniel Gracie gets the microphone and calls out Nakamura, saying that he beat him before. This is obviously referring to the MMA fight they had like over a decade ago where Daniel Gracie bet Nakamura, and he says he wants another match with Nakamura for the title. Sakuraba then comes out and cuts a promo of his own, setting up a tag match at the 3rd of May show for Sakuraba and Nakamura taking on the Gracies. Overall a decent show, with the highlights being Nakamura versus Tanahashi and Naito versus Ishii. So that's going to do it for this episode then. Thanks for listening, see you later.